everyone. Watch till the end of the video for a surprise. I'll see you there. My son was involved in a suicide game on the dark web. Story by you/CreeperStreet. My son, Thomas, never had a shortage of friends. Always the class clown, always the likable, relatable, funny goof that he was. He passed away 2 months ago. He jumped off an overpass and landed on his neck. He was 17, and I am writing this for him because he wanted me to. I know a lot of you know about the internet and the dark web and all of that. The thing is, I didn't. And maybe if I had, my son would still be alive. So please, stay off the dark web. The game is called Veritatem Dicere, and I'm an American English speaker, but I believe that it means something along the lines of tell the truth in Latin. I only began to notice things after his last few months. Troubles at school, which he never had. He sat behind a girl in his class and cut a chunk of her hair off her head. He was suspended. I would look through the history on his computer to find violent videos, people being murdered and sodomized, video after video, white powder substance all over his room, salt lining his windows. We took him to a dentist because of an infection on one side of his mouth. The dentist examined him and pulled me aside to let me know that my son had pulled out and crushed 3 teeth in his mouth himself. The last straw was when I caught him in the bathroom about 2 months before he died. He was carving some sort of symbol into his arm on a live stream. I figured his odd behavior must be a cry for help, thinking maybe he was depressed or suicidal. He was hospitalized for a week and then released. And 2 weeks later, my son died. A month before my son died, every person in my family received an email, and each one read, "Ask Thomas about the little girl who died down the street. Ask him what he knows. Make him tell the truth." The email came from an anonymous sender, and when confronted with it, Thomas began to get nervous and visibly sick. "Who sent it, Thomas? I want to know. If this is some sick prank to scare your little sister, it's not funny." I leaned against the counter and crossed my arms. The email pulled up on the laptop in front of my son. He kept his head low, avoiding eye contact with me, staring at his fingers in his lap. "I don't know what it is, Mom. Probably some spam email or something," he muttered, almost looking up at me, but quickly averting his gaze. "A spam email that happens to have your name in it and information on the crime committed down the street a few weeks ago? I don't think so." I glanced at the screen for a moment. "So, do you know something you're not telling your father and I about this?" I said, looking back at him again. "No." Tears welled up in his eyes as he stared at the computer screen. "I don't know anything." "What is going on with you, Thomas? This is so unlike you. Please, if you're not okay, please just tell us. We want to help you. We want our Tom back." I put my hand on his, but he pulled away quickly and wiped his eyes quicker. "I don't know anything, Mom. I already told you. I'm fine." He got up abruptly and started towards the doorway. Now, I could feel the tears begin to form in my eyes as I saw him walk away. My son was almost unrecognizable. He was skin and bones, purple bags under his eyes like he hadn't slept in days. His clothes hung and bagged on him as I saw him walk to the door. "I love you," I squeaked out. He stopped for a moment and looked back at me, and I swear to God, I'd never seen more pain in someone's eyes than I saw in his in that moment. He let a tear fall as he turned away again. He's back to me now. "I love you, Mama," he croaked out before exiting the room quickly. He began to look worse as time went on. Thin, frail, tired, fatigued, and my husband and I found therapists, took him to doctors, pulled him out of school, and did everything we thought was right leading up to my son's suicide. About a week after his death, I felt like half of me was missing. I couldn't move or talk or get out of my bed, and I didn't. All I could do was think about Thomas, and the guilt ate me alive. I knew my email had to be overflowing with emails from clients at work, and I knew that I'd have to get back to work soon. For me, for my husband, for my daughter. 2 weeks later, I finally checked it, and at the very top of my inbox was an email with an anonymous sender and no subject. I began to tear up, wishing whoever it was would just leave me alone and let me grieve. But curiosity got the better of me, and I opened it. I wish I hadn't. The email was nothing but 9 black words that read,
"He did it, and the game is not over."
I got too comfortable on the dark web. A story that changed my life. Written by you/beltabonzai. I got too comfortable on the dark web. This is a story that changed my life. Browsing the dark web is simple. Download Tor browser and do as you please, which is what I did. I was with my friend at that time, and that's where you become reckless. We were up late that night, past midnight, and we were watching scary dark web experiences on YouTube. Little did we know, this led us to a horrific experience, one that we would never forget. "Damn, this is creepy," Daniel said. "Well, you know what this means. We're gonna try it for ourselves," I stated. What a bad decision looking back. What a bad decision indeed. I proceeded to download Tor, a 5-minute wait, and it was downloaded and we were set to go. Instantly I searched dark web red rooms, but nothing too bad came up. I continued to do this for the next few weeks, nothing strange except gore and porn, which was nothing compared to the terrors that we heard about on YouTube. And so, I dug deeper and deeper into this hidden side of the internet, and each time that I succeeded, I became more confident. Now, moving on to the night of the incident, I was at a sleepover with my friend Daniel. Remember him from the start? Yeah, so we searched dark web chat sites, and there we found it. Chat for free, online deep web chatting site. And so I said, "Great, let's look at this then." What a big mistake. Daniel was wary before we clicked on it, and I don't blame him now that I'm looking back at it. But I was overconfident. The reason for me being like that was because during my time on the darker side of the internet, I didn't see anything bad. "Are you sure that it's safe, Mike?" And I replied with, "Yeah, totally. What's the worst that could happen?" And then I clicked. Bang! I was hit with several pop-up ads instantly, and my computer started running slow. But my computer was pretty old, so I thought that that's the worst that could happen. Once I had cleared all of the stupid ads, I met a page saying, "Welcome to chat for free. Click start when you're ready." The loading circle on the screen lasted for quite a while until we met our first user. "You and Sam both look hockey," was written at the top. Our camera was on, but Sam's was not, and all we could see was a blank screen, so we skipped off him. But you need to remember his username, Sam the Man 666, and we'll get to that later. On our Chat for Free website, we met a couple of nude guys like usual and a lot of blank screens. Our second time with Sam the Man 666 concluded of an empty room. His camera was on but no one was there. Then, the chat box said, "Sam is typing." "Hey," showed up in the chat box. "What should I say, Dan?" I exclaimed. Dan seemed to be shaking quite a bit. He seemed in no mood to answer my question. "Hi," I wrote, low-key hoping for no response. "Sam is typing" appeared once again. "Where do you live?" Sam wrote. That shook both of us, so I just clicked off the website and cleared all search history immediately. So then we fell asleep. We both lingered awake for a while thinking about Sam and who he really is, but eventually we both fell asleep, leaving the computer facing us. Bad idea. 3:20 a.m. I wake up. The computer is on with Chat for Free open, but the website screen seemed darker and more unnerving. I immediately woke Daniel up and we were frozen with fear. As I slowly get closer to the computer, I see that we are in a chat with Sam the Man 666, but his face cam is, well, strange. His face cam is us sitting in the chair, but of course it wasn't us. His face cam showed us both smiling, but I did not remember Dan smiling nor me. Then a deep male voice spoke out. It spoke our address, the number, the lane, and I don't want to state the country. We were more paralyzed than ever, sitting and trembling in fear, and I didn't have the power in me to do anything about it. It was like a nightmare. But sadly, it wasn't. On Sam's face cam showed a shadow of a man behind us. I'd have to say above 6 foot for sure, but I can't quite remember. As the man gradually came closer behind us in his face cam, a weapon became visible. As he got closer, his weapon raised, as me and Dan sat smiling still. That smile was like something that I've never seen before. The man swung the weapon at my neck, chopping it away. It was absolutely horrific. I felt like throwing up, and the adrenaline made me spring up and snap the computer in half. I was that adrenaline-filled that it broke like butter. My heart racing, and I put my hand on my head in fear. And Dan was pale white and still like a corpse. I proceeded to stomp on the computer until it was completely in bits. I started crying. Do you blame me? Still to this day, I dread thinking about anything on the deep web, especially that incident. Just a reminder, this was 3 years ago, and me and Dan haven't spoken in about 6 months or so because of the pandemic. But we rarely talk about the incident anymore. I have no plausible explanation for what happened with a face cam and all of that, but I like to forget about it now. One thing I have learned from this is to never go on the dark web. You don't know who is watching you. I bought a glass eye off the dark web. I can now see things. I see things no human being should ever see. Written by Rob Byford. I lost my left eye when I was only 7 years old. It was a stupid way to lose an eye, but luckily, most people tend not to ask how I lost it. I think the majority worry it might be insensitive. It's not a story I like to tell, not because it's upsetting or brings back bad memories. I just feel embarrassed by it. Growing up, my brother and I were obsessed with Robin Hood, the outlaw of Sherwood Forest, who would take from the rich and give to the poor. I'm not going to pretend this heroic savior of the poor was our hero because of his good deeds. We simply liked him because of his legendary skill with a bow and arrow. Our father, a keen gardener, had lots of bamboo sticks all piled up beside the shed, which he would tie plants to in order to stop them from drooping when they grew. It was my brother's idea to take one and attach a length of string to both ends to create a bow. I thought he was an absolute genius, and when we had finished making the bow, we made an arrow, simply by using a handsaw to carve a small groove into one end of an arrow-sized piece of bamboo, which would act as a nest for the string to sit. "I'm first," my brother said. "No," I cried. "It was my idea, so I get to shoot first." And that was that. At one end of the garden, there was a little wall which surrounded one of my father's flower patches. Upon the wall, we placed an empty plastic bottle to be used as our target. My brother, of course, then took the first turn, missing wildly and falling far short of the bottle on the wall. Next, it was my go, and I also missed. It took about an hour before we had both knocked the bottle off the wall once. "Right, now you stand in the middle, and I'll shoot over your head at the target." Another genius idea by my brother. I didn't argue. I thought it was a cool thing to do, and if it did, then my brother would have to let me have a go shooting over him. I don't believe he meant to do it. It was just a careless accident, but the arrow never made it past my body. It struck me hard and deep in my left eye. Straight away, blood poured down my cheek and I screamed in agony. I spent a couple of days in the hospital before the doctors decided that they would have to remove what was left of my left eye. And until I was 12, I wore an eye patch. But when I moved into secondary school, I decided to get my first glass eye to try and put an end to the pirate jokes. It might sound weird, but I loved my glass eye, and by the time that I was 16 and leaving school, I had collected dozens, all different colors and designs. My missing eye stopped being something that I tried to hide and in a strange way became my kind of signature. Kids would say, "Have you seen the boy with a spiral in his eye?" Or, "Have you seen the lad with an eye like a cat?" I enjoyed this. It allowed me to embrace my injury and make it a part of my identity. I carried on collecting glass eyes for many years, always on the lookout for new designs or something different to what I already had. And when I was 25, I discovered the dark web. A friend from my Dungeons and Dragons club told me about he had used to buy some sort of hallucinogenic. I didn't plan on using the dark web for anything like that. I was just intrigued by the idea of it. And once I was on, I started looking for stores. It was amazing and disgusting. People selling guns, drugs, services, and even other people. It made me feel a little bit ill knowing that I was now part of this strange illicit world. I went on to one store page, which called itself Mr. Bubble's Objects of Trouble, which was the first store that I had come across which had a search bar. So I thought, hell, let's see if they have any. I typed in the words, glass eye. I didn't expect anything to come up, and I was rather surprised when a match popped up on my screen. The item was called the Sight of Sin, which was simply a black eye with a small red number 7 on it. It pulled at my fancy, so I decided to buy it. I didn't truly expect it to show up. But 1 week later, a package arrived, and there it was. As customary with all my new eyes, I washed the eye in a solution to make sure it was clean. When washed, I put it in a case with the rest of my eyes and went back to watching television. The next morning when I woke up, I thought that I'd test out the new eye to see if it was a good fit, to check how comfortable it was. It went in with ease and felt absolutely perfect, so I decided to leave it in for the rest of the day. Nothing strange happened at first. It was just my usual daily routine of having breakfast and doing some work on my laptop. But then, the doorbell rang. As I opened the door, I immediately knew something wasn't right. I had double vision all of a sudden. There was only one man standing on my front doorstep trying to sell me some solar panels. But I could see him twice. One image of him was completely ordinary. Just the bloke dressed up in a suit, holding a brochure and telling me about how he can save me money on my electricity bill. But the other image, well, it was him, but dressed up in a gimp suit, cracking a whip against the floor lustfully. I don't think I said a word to him. I just stared transfixed by what I was seeing. Eventually, I closed the door and stood there for a moment, trying to understand what had just happened. I passed it off at that time as just my mind playing tricks on me, and that I must be overtired. So I decided to have a nap. I was woken by a telephone call from my father asking if I was still coming to his house for dinner. I looked at the time and realized that I was running late, so I grabbed my coat and flew out the door. On my way to my father's house, which is just a 10-minute walk down the road from mine, I walked past just one person, a lady, walking her dog. But again, I was seeing double. In one image, she was completely ordinary. Apart from being overweight, she was wearing a pink coat, and beside her, a dog trotted along minding its own business. But in another part of my vision, I could see her again, completely naked, eating tinned dog food with a fork. Jellied meat dripped down onto her breast, which she licked ravenously. I was almost sick. I thought about just going home and going back to bed, still trying to convince myself that I was simply tired from working. But my father missed not having me at home, and I didn't want to let him down. Though now, I wish I did. Now, what happened next won't make much sense unless I explain something. When I was 2 years old, my mother died. I say died. She was killed whilst walking home from work one night on this very estate. Nobody has ever been caught in relation to her murder. But now, I know exactly who took my mother from me. My father opened the door with a large grin on his face. "Come in, son," he said cheerily, but I did not move. besides the image of my father standing in the doorway, was another vision of him holding a knife and laying beneath him on the floor was my mother, soaked in blood, eyes vacant and still. I took a step back from my father and did not stop running until I had reached the front door of my house. Straight away, I went onto the dark web and searched for Mr. Bubble's store. But it had gone, vanished, like it had never been there. I didn't leave my house for a few days. I didn't answer the door. I didn't even pick up the phone. What I did was sit by the window, looking out onto the street, watching the people walking past. I think I know what I'm seeing now. It makes a little sense, but it's the only thing that I can think of which almost explains what I'm seeing. Firstly, when I remove the glass eye, I no longer see two images of everyone. I only see one, just like I always have. But when the eye is in, I see two visions of every person I look at in the flesh. Secondly, I think I know what I'm seeing. I am seeing their sins. I know that sounds utterly mad, but it's the only thing all this seems to point to. The name of the glass eye, the red number 7, the grotesque and disturbing images I see. I believe it's their sins that I am seeing with my new eye. I see the true hideous nature of people, the part of themselves they hide from everyone else. I know I could just take the eye out and forget about it. But I just can't bring myself to do this. I can't trust anybody without it. I can't see the real them. But seeing people's darkest secrets also leaves me alone. For once you see the hidden nature of someone, you never want to be close to them again. Many questions remain. Why does this eye allow me to see these things? Who made it? How did it end up in the dark web? I need to know the answer to these questions. So please, if anyone out there has any information on the eye, or if anyone else ever came across Mr. Bubble's Objects of Trouble store, then please get in touch. Please. And here are the top comments for my last video. Welcome to Miss Creepy Tales Riddle Time. If you know the answer, feel free to leave it in the comments, and the winner gets to be featured in the next video. I have no wings or limbs, but I climb the sky. Who am I? Hello everyone, it's your creepy sister here. Thank you so much for watching the video. I really appreciate each and every one of you. But I would also like to thank my amazing patrons, my top tippers, and my dearest channel members. Thank you very, very much. I really appreciate it with all of my heart. If you want to support the channel further, you could also choose to become a patron, a tipper, or a channel member. But remember, it's appreciated, but never a requirement. I would also like to announce that we have merch now. The link is in the description of the video, along with all my other social media links, like my Discord server, Twitter, Instagram, and others. You can connect with me and send your stories there. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't yet, and comments are highly appreciated. And remember, your fear feeds me.